everybody. I'm Sean Feeney, a senior product marketing manager on the Power Platform team, and this is the low code approach. But guess what? I'm also joined by.
I'm Wendy Haddad. I'm a senior cloud solution architect, delivery lead, and a former Microsoft customer. And I am joined by.
Sean, that was smooth. Sean, real smooth. I like the way how you just, ease right into Wendy. I am Ken Aguilar. And then back to Wendy, because Wendy, we have a guest with us. Who is with us today?
I am super excited. Today we have Matt Kirby from Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and I have been privileged to work with Matt in my day job over here at Microsoft. So, Matt, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do at HPE?
Yes, of course. Matt Kirby. I'm a change implementation specialist with the AI governance team, and I've been overseeing the rollout of Microsoft Copilot within HPE and teaching and working with our employees to help them utilize AI in a way to be more productive. So it's been a fun journey.
So, Matt, with your role at HPE, how are you all thinking? Let's just talk about the positioning of Copilot in the organization first. How did you approach that rollout and adoption plan?
Well, as we all know, there's a lot of different AI tools out there. And I read somewhere that there's potentially dozens of tools being released every day across the world. Most of them are variants on the standard ones. So at HPE, we wanted to provide quality AI tools, quality AI in engagement facilitation methodologies for our employees and our customers. And so by doing this, we're looking at productivity suites. We are looking at how we can help with coding, how we can help with just generally making ourselves as a company more agile, more able to be on that front edge when it comes to technology. So with that, Copilot happens to be part of our collection.
Awesome. And then in terms of the actual launch of Copilot, because I know you and I have done quite a lot of work around adoption and training. Back when you first started, what were some of the things you were thinking of as you approached that launch?
Well, the first thing that I thought of, we were a part of the early access program. So we've been engaged with Microsoft now for around 2 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. And as I was going through it, the first thing I thought to myself is, this is spell check all over again. We're having to teach people a new way of thinking when engaging with a computer. It's not like going to Bing and typing in keywords and doing a search. It's a change of your mindset. And so with that, it was, okay, how can we reach our employees in a way that they can understand it? Because we're a global organization. We have people literally around the world with different backgrounds, different understandings, different jobs. So we had to do that. We kind of had to think globally.
Matt, you made a good analogy there, saying like, hey, this is like spell check. There's this new paradigm shift for employees working with computers and how they have to think about things. I don't know about others, but I consider spell check to be like my best friend, right? It makes my work better because
Yes.
it makes me sound smarter. Did you have to convey that same type of mindset for employees working with agents and like, hey, this actually makes things better? You can make things more efficient. You can actually build better solutions when you start integrating Microsoft Copilot in your solutions. Like, I love Copilot. I can't live, or I love Copilot. I love spell check, and I can't live without it. Like, it's like it has to be there. I breathe it. How did you convey that same type of mindset? How did you get people to onboard in their mind that, yes, this is beneficial. It's a new way to look at things, but it makes things better in the end. How did you champion that internally?
So the first part was making sure that we had the right leadership involved. So we use a lot of the standard change management principles. Make sure that there's leadership buy-in. Make sure that the stakeholders and that the various business groups and teams across the company have constant communication. So that was the first thing. We did a lot of demos. We sat down with a lot of people and showed them what the tool could do. And we didn't use a lot of preset scripts. We did it live. And that was the key, is somebody would give us an idea, and I don't know. Let's try it. Let's do it together right now live, and let's see what the response is. And seeing the virtual light bulbs pop up in the middle of a Teams meeting is kind of cool. Because you see the thumbs up, where the people that aren't muted, you hear that, oh, that's cool. And it's awesome to see them starting to make those connections. And then the other thing is we encouraged a lot of practice, a lot of engagement with the tool and with each other. We're like, yes, we have limited licenses. We're just testing this out. But at the same time, talk about it. Get ideas from other people. Share.
Matt, what I'm hearing you say to me is that, well, to us, is that you didn't do really anything differently from your traditional app dev deployments or rolling out different software, right? You really took the practices that you've already learned from doing this for a number of years and just adopted it to Copilot. Is that correct?
I would say about 90%, yes. Because the other thing is your normal app dev and normal app rollout, there's a lot of assumptions that people have a certain skill level depending on what type of application it is. Copilot is applicable regardless of your skill level. So I could sit down with my grandparents and teach them how to use Copilot. I could sit down with my children and teach them how to use Copilot. And they have very different backgrounds, different experiences, where when you're dealing with a normal app rollout, if it's a programming app, it's going to programmers that already have a base standard. We're having to teach people how to rethink how to use their email again, something that they've used for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. We're teaching people how to type and how to organize a document in Word, so that way they have headers and footers and titles and sections, because we've become lazy as tech workers. We just start typing and then we pass it off to somebody else to do the editing. And so now, using Copilot, we are becoming more precise in our communication if we let it help us.
I'm curious. There was a lot of information that could go so many different ways in what you said, but what challenges did you face?
Okay.
What were your concerns?
So the two biggest ones that I had was just the general rollout when you're dealing with a global environment. So time zones, languages, and that was a huge forefront. And then also the basic hype curve that you run into with anything new, anything exciting. So there's that build up and we reach a peak, and then there's a general level of acceptance, and then there's that fall down. But it's that Gardner curve of acceptance that a lot of people will look at. So making sure that we staggered it in such a way that we could keep the momentum and keep that peak as high as possible for as long as possible across the company. So those were the two biggest things. And to get over those, we did a lot of small group stuff. So for the languages and stuff, I actually pulled together a team of employees from around the globe that speak Spanish. And we did an entire meeting in Spanish, transcript in Spanish, used Copilot to do summaries, to do action items, to pull out details on the conversation. We even tried switching up the languages a couple of times to see how it would handle that. And then we did some sample publishes into Word and into PowerPoint, and we tested out the product. And we talked about everything. And then the other side of that was we created some community engagement groups. So we have some online forums within the company where people can interact on the teams, and we created those groups to allow them to talk to each other, share their success stories, ask each other questions. I don't have to be the expert on everything. I just have to know who the experts are, so that way they can talk to each other.
I definitely want to get to those community engagement groups and your center of excellence in a little bit, because I know that's where a lot of this gold is. But I do want to back up and make sure we've set the stage properly. You mentioned at the beginning that a lot of this is your regular change management processes, including executive sponsorship. So
Yes.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the roles? Well, Let's back up even further. Did you have that executive sponsorship in place at the beginning of your Copilot rollout, or was that a go back motion? And then now or when they became engaged, what was their role in this whole process in terms of rolling out Copilot and Copilot adoption at HPE?
Okay, so in our case, we did have executive sponsorship for the initial enrollment into the early access program. And then we worked with our various leadership teams to present the product, present to them how it worked, and then got their buy-in before we actually started engaging with individual users. So it was a very small focus group, sharing it with the leadership, and then we finalized the messaging, passing it through the various different leadership orgs to make sure that our messaging was consistent for the entire organization.
As another follow up to that, did you get executive sponsors just one centralized in IT, or did you have executive sponsors throughout each of the organizations? And I might be leading the witness a little bit because
Yes.
I know I've been doing some of this work with you, but I think it's valuable for our customers to hear this.
Well, from the top down, and anybody who's watched the recent broadcasts from HPE will know that we are an AI first company. We want to be on the forefront of AI development as a company for ourselves and for our customers. And so having that push, having that desire to represent AI and generative AI, agentic AI with as being a leader in the space, that helped. Now, the engagement within our different business units, that was the significant. That's what made the difference, is getting the buy-in for the different business unit leaderships, whether it was our sales org, whether it was our marketing or communications, IT, whatever it was, getting those leaders to buy in on the concept of, we're going to test this out. We're going to take a year. We're going to 6 months, 18 months, whatever it takes, we're going to vet this product, this new paradigm, and we're going to work with people within your org. And we encourage you to talk to them, ask them questions. Do they like it? Do they not? And once we got those business unit groups to buy in, I think that has made the difference. We actually have one org that, Wendy, we provided training. They were so excited about the product, they rolled it out to every employee within their organization. And it has been tremendous for us to create the momentum.
Hey, Matt, thank you for sharing all that. And that is so awesome to hear. I'm curious. I want to jump back to like getting buy-in within the orgs where you're saying like, hey, when we were showing demos of this, we didn't have like a canned demo per se, right? We said, what do you want to see? And you did that, right? And it blew people's minds. And that's awesome. But HP is huge. How do you scale that type of engagement across something as large as HPE if you're doing like one-off demos of the product? I am very curious about how you reach such success and scale that way.
Well, the first thing, we created an internal SharePoint. It's our center of excellence. We call it our Copilot hub. And within that, when you go to the landing page, the first thing is we explain what Copilot is and what Copilot isn't. We talk about how it's an assistant, how it can help you to be more productive in your job. But we also emphasize the importance of, it's not going to do your job for you. You still have to be a responsible employee. And then the second thing was, we made sure that we hit all of the standard learning. We did short form videos, we did 1 or 2 page quick reference guides, and then we also hosted meetings where we actually recorded those meetings, allowed people to interact, and then we shared the recordings, and we've shared the presentation decks. We've in the process of adding the Copilot notes from those meetings as something to look at as well. And so we've got this central hub on SharePoint, but then we also have our community channels. So within the organization, we have an AI Connect community that is user driven and pushed. That users, as they have different needs or different interests, they come together and they're self-organized and they're learning and and developing information about AI in general, agentic AI or generative AI or low code, pro code, whatever the case may be. They're looking at that, and they're talking amongst themselves, and we encourage that. We have monthly office hours. For the first 6 months of the rollout, we were doing office hours every other week. And the thing is I don't just host those office hours once in the day that fits in my schedule. We do it twice, so that way we hit all of the different time zones. So we open it up and allow our employees, regardless of where they are in the world, they can come online for an hour and ask questions. We can give them updates on our adoption, any updates, any improvements that have come along, and they can ask questions. So I mean, it's been a constant communication. So that's the big thing. And then the other thing that we've done is we've started offering organized activities where we can engage with the different business units. And we're encouraging the business units themselves to take ownership of it. So if the marketing team wants to be the most active user of AI within their team, we're encouraging them to create their own little miniature community with their own team members, to talk, to have champions that might be that type of train the trainer. So I could go on and on and on, but most of this is just your standard, almost ad car principles when it comes to change management. But like you said, HPE is not a small company, and we're doing it globally. So it has been a challenge, and my inbox reminds me of that every day. So
Matt, in these rollouts, there's always going to be something that just comes and just like, I did not think of that. What's been the most surprising thing for you?
The most surprising thing for me is we were creating a newsletter to talk about generative AI, and we were going back and forth as a team trying to come up with a title and a theme for the newsletter. Somebody on the call just said, "Well, have you asked the AI? What did it say? What does it want to be called?" And so we did that. And so we used Copilot, and we used some of the other tools that we have, and we started asking, what do we want? We're creating a newsletter to talk about AI at HPE. What do you want to call yourself? And it was just kind of, okay, that's kind of neat. And then in some of the training opportunities we've had, using Copilot to teach how to create prompts to use with Copilot. So basically, it's kind of like the teenager attempting to explain to their mom and dad, this is how I want you to talk to me. And the mom and dad saying, no, this is how you need to communicate, or I'm not going to understand you. So it's kind of that jumping back and forth between the parent and the child role.
Well, Matt, you alluded to this earlier, and I'd like to maybe land the plane of the episode here,
Sure.
but this is just a gold mine of information. You talked about the persona training,
Mm-hmm.
you talked about how each business unit is adopting Copilot. You and I have been working on that persona-based
Mm-hmm.
training, and specifically, again, how we're creating that tailored experience for that business adoption. So can you talk a little bit more about what we've been doing at HPE and the success you're seeing from that?
Yeah, of course. The biggest thing is anybody who's done any kind of training, knows, get in the mindset of the person that is going to be utilizing the tool. So if you're in finance, how am I going to use a tool? If it's focused heavily on email, that's great that it can help me organize, but I spend most of my day in spreadsheets. If I'm in marketing or sales, that's great that it might analyze data in spreadsheets, but I spend a lot of time in PowerPoint. I really want that help there. And so it's thinking about how they use the tool and what they do on a day-to-day basis, and how we can insert Copilot to amplify them and give them almost like that extra boost of caffeine to get things done. And you can leave this in or not, but reminded me of in the movie Over the Hedge, where Hammy the squirrel downs an energy drink, and then everything in the world around him goes slow. That energy drink's like Copilot, where just it allows you to take that moment and step back and observe everything that's going on, because it's doing the fast work for you. All right.
Awesome, Matt. So, like Wendy alluded to earlier, we got to wrap this up. Our producer's telling us the one last ask I have of you is you've got 30 seconds to give us the elevator pitch on why change management is so important when bringing generative AI and Copilot into an organization, and especially someone who has the experience at such enterprise scale like you, right? Like, I'm eating up your time, but what's that elevator pitch?
The elevator pitch. So to roll out any new thing, especially something that is untested or unaware in your company, communicate, communicate, communicate. Share your successes, share your failures, and work as a community to understand how you can turn those failures into successes.
That was a short elevator ride we took, but you hit all the spots. Like, that was awesome. That was great. Really good job, Matt. I appreciate that. If there's anything you want to share with us, any learning documentation that you think is super beneficial that you found success with across Microsoft assets, we would always appreciate any insights in that, and we're happy to include them in the show notes. We'll point out you're going to get called out on LinkedIn, so we appreciate you joining on here.
Oh, of course.
It's awesome, Matt. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time.
No problem. No problem. Thanks, everybody.